All right, let's jump right in. Imagine an idea so powerful, so radical, that it couldn't be contained on a page. It literally tore itself free from philosophy and became a living, breathing being. That's where our story begins. So, what actually happens when a concept just gets up and walks among us? That's exactly what we're going to explore. We're following a being who is the living embodiment of an idea that, frankly, challenges everything we think we know about morality. So, our story kicks off with this figure, this Faust of the mind, a brilliant scholar, but one who is physically frail, completely racked by illness and despair, and he's about to undergo the most radical transformation you can imagine. And the change isn't just a change, it's an absolute annihilation of who he was. In a single thunderclap, the weak scholar is gone. In his place stands Wotan, the Overman. He descends from his glorious, lonely peak into the marketplace of humanity, and what he finds there is a civilization just drowning in its own delusions. Now, as you can probably guess, Wotan isn't alone for long. He's almost immediately confronted by a challenger. And who else would it be but Mephistopheles? The slick, cynical tempter in a modern business suit. He's the spirit who denies, and he's here to make a deal. And this, right here, is the heart of the whole conflict. Mephistopheles lays down a wager. He bets that anyone, even a being with the power of a god, will eventually break, that they'll choose the warm, cozy feeling of being needed over the cold, hard reality of absolute freedom. I mean, listen to that pitch. It's so seductive, right? He's saying, look, trade in that awful, lonely freedom you have, just become their savior, be their protector, and in return, you get to belong, you get to be worshipped. So what Mephistopheles is really pushing here is this idea of slave morality. Think of it like a great inversion of values. It's a system born from fear that says, you know what? Strength is actually evil. Power is bad. Why? So that weakness can feel good about itself, so that it can feel like a virtue. It's a moral code designed entirely for comfort, not for greatness. But here's the thing. Wotan looks out at all this suffering, all these weeping masses, and he sees it all without compassion, without limits. He doesn't see a crowd that needs to be healed. He sees a species that has stopped moving, one that's caught in stagnation and desperately needs to evolve. Which brings us to the moment of truth. This is the climax of their whole confrontation. Does he take the devil's deal? Does he become the savior everyone's begging for? Or is he going to offer them something completely different? And Wotan's answer is a thunderous verdict. It is an absolute, total rejection. He's not going to be their captain. He's not going to be their priest. He flat out refuses to get involved in what he sees as their small, insignificant human dramas. And this really gets to the core of his entire philosophy. For Wotan, pity isn't a kindness, it's a poison. It's the very thing that keeps people chained to their own limitations. It's like gravity, always pulling you down, keeping you from ever climbing any higher. So instead of offering a comforting hand to pull them up, he gives them a powerful command, a challenge. The goal, he's saying, isn't to be saved by someone else. The goal is to become more than you currently are. And this is such a critical point. Wotan's purpose isn't to be a mechanic who fixes a broken humanity. No, his purpose is to be a new goal for humanity to strive for, a new horizon to aim for. And then he just drops this bombshell. He says that all those structures humanity built to feel safe and to give life meaning, all their religions, their governments, their neat little moral codes, they're actually just cages. He calls them obsolete delusions, nothing more than shelters for people who are too afraid to face existence head-on. This is the alternative that Wotan represents. It's not the will to survive, or the will to be happy, or the will to be comfortable. It's the will to power. And what that means is a constant, burning, fundamental drive to overcome everything in your path, especially yourself. So, with his verdict delivered and his philosophy laid bare, the Overman makes one last decisive move, and this is the move that finally settles the devil's wager once and for all. He doesn't fight them. He doesn't try to convert them anymore. He just moves on. With complete and total freedom, he turns his back on their pleading and literally steps over them. See, he's not a character in their story. His very existence is meant to be a new meaning of the earth. And in that single moment, the devil loses his bet. That slick, cynical smile on Mephistopheles' face just withers away into actual, genuine unease. Because he finally understands, how can you possibly manipulate a being who refuses the bait of pity? A being who has no need to be loved or worshipped, has no weakness for you to exploit. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. The Overman isn't evil. He isn't hateful. He's like a mountain that starts walking. It doesn't hate the villages in its path, but its sheer scale and purpose are just so far beyond them that it shatters their world without a second thought. And the question this parable really leaves us with is, what gets shattered inside of us when we finally choose to surpass instead of sate?